Yo, what's good? You dial back here again in 2019. Let's get it with another Powers tournament. Yo, these are fun. These are very technical. Folks seem to like them. I like them. They're always very interesting. I know this is original. Other people don't do a Powers tournament, and I also do some videos on power systems. Which the third one I've been planning on doing for like 3 weeks now, 2 or 3 weeks. It's rough. That one's rough. Let's just put it that way because if you know it's one hand, it's dealing in Tokyo Ghoul, and if you know that, yeah, tough times. Anyways, we are here for the sixth tournament, and it's a matter of survival, ladies and gentlemen. Which ability it's better in the battle for survival? Now you can take of it as survival in the wild, as well as what can outcompete the other ability with surviving in the wild. And this is always interesting because people think, abilities and powers, they think just pure combat. But depending on which story you're in, you will see this kind of element come in. You know, if you're fighting on a post apocalyptic planet, or if you're in a sci fi series, some of these abilities may come to aid. So this will be very interesting. I haven't done this style quite yet. Same format, but I haven't done with this kind of criteria yet. So this will be fascinating. And for those a sneak peek, when I go into these videos, I'm literally deliberating as I'm doing the videos. So there's no preset who's the winner. No, I'm deciding along as y'all are watching it. So just thought I would throw that out here. The first matchups, the first round, and for those who don't know, there are eight that go into this tournament, eight contenders, and under each category, we have three criteria. All right, there are three criteria because unfortunately, a lot of people when they do these kind of things and debates and stuff, they don't have set criteria, so they just haphazardly pick someone. You can't do that. So we in here with the first category being versatility, the second category being ease of usage and mastery, ease of usage and mastery, and the third one being effectiveness. How effective is that power or ability in said um, situation? Okay. Now, first and foremost, we have echolocation versus the ability to breathe underwater. And again, if you're not familiar with said ability or power, don't worry. I'll break it down before we with each match, and then we go from there. Second matchup, we have claws or talons, claws/talons versus camouflage. Third abilities matchup is X-ray vision versus sonic shout, and the fourth matchup is pyrokinesis versus heightened sense of smell. All right. So the first matchup, we have echolocation and we have the ability to breathe underwater. Now, echolocation, for those who don't know, is the kind of thing that bats use, as well as to a lesser degree, I believe, dolphins and a few. It's like a sonar. If you know what sonar is, it projects uh, vibrations, which vibrations make up sound. So we usually think of sound, but it projects vibrations. What echolocation does, it's similar to if you're aware of Daredevil, for example, and Marvel Comics, where he has his radar sense. It's a it's a form of radar sense where you send out vibrations, maybe in the form of sound waves. It bounces off wherever it is, and then the reverberating waves give a feedback, if you will, and it projects a map, kind of like a 3D map of the place. It's great for if you're blind or hard of blind or near blind, hard of vision. Um, you'll be able to detect, and I'm pretty sure it can still work even if you're deaf, as long as you can sense the vibrations and get the mental imaging. Breathing underwater is pretty self-explanatory. You literally have the ability to, you know, whether it be via gills, like you literally breathe the oxygen out of the the water itself, or you can just sustain water. You can hold your breath for indefinitely. Like you don't have a matter. Holding your breath indefinitely is more lung capacity and such. You can technically, if you want to kind of smidge and put that under there, that works for me too. It's just the ability to pretty much not drown from lack of oxygen or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you may just take in the water and breathe it, whatever your the ability is, but you can survive underwater, okay, without running out of breath. Now, echolocation. When it comes to versatility, okay, versatility. Echolocation again. This one is great if you're in pretty much anywhere. You could be the only area I would think it would affect. Okay, in space, it would be less effective because of the range of places. So, and plus, if it's actual sound waves and not just vibrational waves, sound cannot travel in space. But if you're giving off and emitting some kind of vibration, whether it be via shaking or something, some kind of vibration, it'll reach. But space is the celestial bodies are so far wide away that it won't be effective there. In the sky, depending on how fine tuned you are with if you can bounce off of like water molecules, rain droplets, things of that nature, clouds maybe, but it would be a bit fuzzier. Okay, it would be harder, kind of in sand, kind of if you remember Toph from uh, Avatar: The Last Airbender, where she's an Earthbender and she's blind, and the shifting sands and such make it very difficult for her to sense via her Earth kind of radar sense, her kind of echolocation that she had going there. Um, it would be kind of like if you remember these guys would be echolocation people. If you remember the episode of the three blind mice archers in Samurai Jack, where they couldn't see but they could hear very well, they could sense where Jack was because of their acute hearing. So that kind of thing. So you could say it would help with super hearing potentially, a low key super hearing, not a high key super hearing, not some Superman status, but like a localized super hearing. Um, it will course effect on land. It would be very effective in things like caves and such. Underwater, it would still be quite effective. So breathing underwater doesn't have that advantage. So in overall survivability, this would be massive. This would be a massive one. So it's got a huge versatility. And when it comes to breathing underwater, it's pretty straightforward. Uh, Considering that if we're talking about a watery planet like Earth, now if you're in a desert or so, you're kind of screwed. Although you might be able to convert that breathing under to, for example, if this is where lung capacity goes in, you could potentially go into a very toxic area and survive. Like if it has caustic gas, terrible gas to breathe in. If you can breathe, you would have a greater chance because if we're talking like planet Earth, for example, where it's a huge amount of water and huge kind of areas, your survivability rate goes up astronomically. You won't drown, so there's no fear of that. Swimming, different stuff like you could, as long as you can see and stuff, like ability to survive because you can eat fish, you can go straight to the source. You can do a lot of things because of this. So both are quite versatile, even though echolocation, I would argue, is the most versatile because it has ridiculous amounts of usages in all elements and not just under liquid foundations. Now, when it comes to ease of usage and mastery, I would say breathing underwater because breathing underwater is it can be passive second nature. Especially if you have things like gills or you just naturally on some Aquaman, Arthur Curry, or Namor the Submariner status. When it comes to echolocation, you're more than likely going to have to fine tune that ability. So it's going to take a little bit. And especially if you're, like I mentioned, if you're going to go on the level of you're sensing like droplets in the sky, that's some huge next level stuff. Okay, that's like magneto level control of magnetism. All right, and then as far as the effectiveness, this one I would argue that they're equal because they're each so different. It's the apples and oranges classic example. Grapes, bananas, which is better? What is your preference here? Because on the one hand, echolocation is just beautiful for mapping. On the other hand, you don't drown. You don't drown. Imagine babies. You ain't got to worry about a little kid drowning. So that's kind of huge. And if a flood, as long as the flood doesn't crush you with water pressure, you're surviving. You're surviving. Think of how many survival series you've watched that if the person had the ability to breathe underwater, there's lack of threat. Like the threat is massively diminished. Massively diminished. So there's that. Uh and who knows, it might actually affect the ability to drink more poisonous kind of water, but that's a whole other kind of reaching a little bit. Overall, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. I would argue though that echolocation would in fact be better because while breathing underwater, the ability to deal with the aquatic is vital for survival. You can be in an area where, let's say you're in the plains of Kansas, there's not water anywhere nearby. So breathing underwater, that's great. You don't have the ability to use it. Echolocation, though, you can use it. Plus, you can use echolocation underwater as well. You can sense it, or let's say to try to find fish. See what I'm saying? Like it's the versatility so outweighs because I think they're on par evenly with effectiveness. That if breathing underwater was more effective than echolocation, it would take the W, but it's not really. So I'll have to give it to echolocation. The second one, claws and talons versus camouflage. Now we know what they are. Claws for creatures like land creatures such as mammals and such. You see tigers, dogs, you name it. And then you have talons with birds, eagles, birds of prey, eagles, falcons, hawks, them. So, versatility. Claws, you can cut, you can grab. Claws and talons, you can cut, you can grab. Potentially, you can climb to a degree. You can dig effectively. It's super effective. It's super effective with trapping, with capturing of prey. So that is a big help. Offense and defense, that's a massive help. So survivability is quite high with claws and talons, as we can see with the creatures who have them. When it comes to camouflage and versatility, again, you blend in with pretty much uh, any area in any spot. Like you can practically be invisible without being invisible. This is massively effective for survivability, especially if you're not an apex predator and you live in a world of apex predators and you need to be able to hide. Give a rabbit camouflage and see how well their species survive. So there is that to consider. Imagine you were in a place of like dinosaur-sized creatures. Camouflage will be you can have all the claws and the talons you want, but that camouflage game is gonna help you survive extraordinarily. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, this one easily goes to claws and talons. Come on, they're right there, bro. They're naturally right there. It's instinctive, right? Since it's as instinctive as is eating. When it comes to camouflage, you might have to train a little bit with that. You might have to learn how to deal with your chemical receptors and emitters and things of that nature. As far as in effectiveness, claws and talons again they're pretty straightforward. Camouflage is a little bit more indirect. It's a little bit more indirect. Overall, I would say claws and talons. As much as I like camouflage, and camouflage is massive, camouflage can flip. Claws and talons, bro, you have living weapons on your hands that are useful in, let's say, digging a hole for finding shelter, finding food. Come on, bro. Camouflage is more a defensive protection thing. Maybe you can sneak up on stuff, but claws give you an innate advantage. So I have to go with claws and talons on this one. Next up, we have X-ray vision versus a sonic shout. Now, X-ray vision is pretty simple. We see guys like Superman, Kal-El have them, all right, where whether it's you can actually see via the X-rays, um, We'll just go with that because infrared, you can kind of maybe squeeze in infrared vision, but the whole point is seeing beyond the normal sight. So seeing all kinds of things, and this could potentially give you sight well beyond, maybe up into the stars and stuff. So it just depends. It's kind of liberal with the usage, but it's a super enhanced sight. Let's put it that way. When it comes to a sonic shout, that's pretty simple. It's a banshee scream. It's you've seen a number of characters. Zebra from Toriko have the sonic shout, where it's this booming voice. You have what's this man from the Inhumans? Why can't I think of a man's name? Oh my god, Black Bolt. Black Bolt is the king of the Inhumans. Has that sonic shout. Okay, pretty self-explanatory. Now, when it comes to versatility, X-ray vision, again, you can see all kinds of stuff. You can see radio waves, potentially. You can potentially see any kind of things depending on how liberal the thing is. Sonic shout, Black Canary. It's a pretty straightforward. Both are pretty much about as equally as diverse depending on your level of skill. And that's where it comes in the ease of usage and mastery. I would say X-ray vision is a lot easier because you just have to learn to focus what you're looking at. With a sonic shout, you have to control that. Black Bolt of the Inhumans can't even speak, bro. If he whispers, it's devastating. If he shouts, he's moon, if not planetary level. You know what I'm saying? Like Black Canary, you can pop somebody's eardrums. Let's say you were, like, don't want to be graphic, but someone was having sex and someone got a little bit loud. Well, there you go. Learning to not literally blast somebody's head off or kill somebody from a sonic boom or sonic shout. So, I mean, you could potentially learn to fly and do different things. Versatility you might smudge and say it's in favor of that. I, sonic shout, nah, not really. You can project kind of blast and stuff and keep people away and create walls and stuff. But again, all of that's kind of murky waters, and to be able to do that is high level skill. It's a high level skill, and as far as in effectiveness, oh, it's definitely the sonic shout because of weaponization that you can use, and in survival, oh hell yeah! Plus, you can kind of do a sonar mapping if you want some next level stuff with it, kind of like echolocation. But overall, I have to go X-ray vision because of the downside. We talking just pure survival. The downside of a sonic shout, and if you're not careful. Plus, the shouting usually is not a good thing for capturing prey. Now, when it comes to pyrokinesis versus heightened smell, right? Pyrokinesis is the ability to create fire. It's the ability to, manipulate fire and things. You see some kind of pyrokinesis on a downgraded scale to Pyro, old X-Men villain, Brotherhood of Mutants. You see pyrokinesis with a Human Torch, Johnny Storm, the android Human Torch, I believe Jim Hammond, I believe his name is, to a certain degree with the Firestorm, and then there's others that are pyrokinetic. I mean, come on, you have guys like Ace, Firefist Portuguese D Ace, and One Piece, Sabo, uh, Natsu Dragneel, and Fairy Tail. I mean, fire production is pretty common. Okay, when it comes heightened sense of smell, guys like Torko, you know what smell does, but Torko went into some next level stuff because he was able to find like genetic memories and stuff. Like it's insane. It's great with tracking. You see Wolverine, aka Logan, aka James Howlett. Wolverine is able to track. I believe also Sabretooth, Victor Creed is able to track very well because of sense of smell. I know other people have a sense of smell heightened as well. It's great for hunting and things of that nature. As far as the versatility goes, pyrokinesis, you can create fire, which means you can cook food, which means you can boil water. You can use it offensively to scare away and defensively, to have people not come at you. If you think about the Jungle Book, okay, if you ever read it or watched the movie, I suggest both the cartoon as well as the live action surpass even the masterpiece of the cartoon. But the red flower, you know, I want to be like you, King Louis, where he was like, we want man's fire, okay? Because of how devastating and how powerful it is. Fire, you can do a hell of a lot of stuff with survival, but as well as a heightened sense of smell. Again, you could sense out disease potentially. You can smell where prey is. You can sense danger. Shoot, if you have it heightened, you can smell all kinds of stuff. And I'm not going. I won't even get into how graphic it can be with the kind of stuff that you could smell. Um, so both of them are highly versatile. Highly versatile. I think the sense of smell slightly edges it out because I'm not going to be here all day listing out all of what you can do with the sense of smell. You can go look it up, or I can do a separate video if you would like, because the sense of smell is actually ridiculous on a chemical, hormonal, and other pheromonal level. It's insane what sense of smell can do. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, they're each harder in their own ways. Pyrokinesis, I mean, controlling a flame is devastating, but getting to the next levels of the sense of smell, with some of the stuff I'm talking about, I think both are equally difficult. It just depends on what kind of person you are and how much experience you have in life, really. Um, a kid would suck with either of them. So, but a grown person, a fighter, for example, or a competent person, I, you know, it. I think they're on par. And when it comes to effectiveness, I mean, fire overall is heightened sense of smell is great, but you still have to be. It runs into the same problem that camouflage is. It's a secondary ability. It's a indirect ability. While as pyrokinesis is bam. You know, if you're skilled with that, you are surviving. You are surviving without a question. You can cauterize wounds. Like there's so much you can do with it, to the effect. So overall, this is a rough one because smell is mad underrated as an ability, but this is a matchup problem because pyrokinesis is a direct. This is the same thing as a camouflage. To unfortunately heightened sense of smell, you have to be about it, and you have to be instinctively gifted in that area. And if you're not, it doesn't matter that you have a heightened sense of smell because you're not going to think to use it. But as far as in pyrokinesis, bro, bam. Most things that you need in pure survival, watch the series Survivor. They need fire, bam, there you go. You covering in food and water right there. You need offense and defense, bam, there you go. Heightened sense of smell is not going to initially gift you that unless you next level with it. So have to give it to the fire boys. Now, echolocation versus claws in the second round, excuse me. Versatility, echolocation, all day, every day. Even though claws, you get an offense, defense, capture and prey and stuff, they are limited to close range. Echolocation allows you to map out an area, allows you to see all over, allows you to potentially, like in a fight, would allow you to predict your opponent's movements. Sure, they can scratch you up, but you you can't hit them. They can't hit you. So that's massively effective. And there's other things that echolocation can do that could be talked about at another time. It has a lot more advantages than claws and talons do because claws and talons are limited in range. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, y'all know it's claws and talons. Again, they're pretty much innate. They're pretty simple to do, to figure out. When it comes to effectiveness, though, I'd have to go echolocation because claws and survive in the game of survival. Claws and talons are massively effective, but they can also be detrimental. Echolocation, there's no detrimental. There's none. Knowing what's around you in the dark would be a massive advantage for one. Claws and talons not going to protect you in that. Knowing where hunting, following migration patterns, knowing where stuff is on some, Huga clan status for miles and kilometers upon miles and kilometers. Massive. You can map out an entire area with echolocation. Claws and talons are great, but they fall to the superiority of the range of echolocation. When it comes in the second round to, we at X-ray vision, I believe. Wait, hold on. Versatility. Yeah, X-ray vision and pyrokinesis. X-ray vision, as far as in versatility, is pretty simple, straightforward. It has a lot of use, but I would argue that pyrokinesis has even more, especially specifically in a survival setting. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, X-ray vision, it would take time to get to some next level stuff with it, but you could probably learn to infrared versus a lot faster than you would in controlling a flame. Okay, that's going to take some work initially. It's going to take some work without a question. In fact, you might X-ray vision. You might have to learn to just like filter which kind of specific on some Ben 10 Omnitrix status. All right, and as far as in effectiveness, this one have to go with the Fireboys again. Offense, defense, cooking, boiling water, these things. X-ray vision is great, but it's a secondary ability. It ain't gonna help me get food and survive in that way. It ain't gonna help me in a direct fight against an opponent. It's just not gonna happen unless you are highly skilled with it. And so we have echolocation versus that fire making, fire production, pyrokinesis. Versatility, I gotta give this one to pyrokinesis. There is a lot of stuff you can do with fire. Echolocation has a lot of range, it has a lot of effects, but the problem is pyrokinesis has, if they were to fight, for example, they would in the fight of survival or just a straight combat fight, pyrokinesis wins out when it comes to with pure survival. When it comes to ease of usage and mastery, I would go echolocation. You can say, wait, wind fire? No. Because again, this one, depending on how adept that you are, echolocation's difficult to master. But the abilities that it went up before in the first two rounds were innate, you can argue, abilities. Pyrokinesis ain't innate. You gotta learn how to control that. Alright? And when it comes to effectiveness, pyrokinesis is mad effective, without question. But it ain't more effective than echolocation. Again, mapping out areas, mapping, seeing underwater. Alright, you do flames underwater. That don't matter. That don't matter. Um it overall it has so much range and so much that it can do. Entire species can go off of it. Really only like humans, like, and okay, you can produce fire. That's great. But echolocation is going to have me know where food's at better. It's going to have me, that's great. I can produce fire, but if I'm in the middle of nowhere and have not the ability to find food and water, then I'm taking this L to something like echolocation that potentially for miles you can scout out an area without you even wasting time, energy, food, and resources, ladies and gentlemen. So overall, believe it or not, echolocation comes out as the best survival ability to have. Unexpected one, like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. Which ability you think comes out on top, and give me uh more subject matters to come up. I have at least one more tournament that I already have preset. Give me some more subjects so I can come up with abilities and figure out which is the best. And let me know if you want to see explanations on any abilities in previous videos. I would love to do those. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night. Peace.